Well, with me now to discuss the speech and its implications is Stephen Booth from the Eurosceptic think tank Open Europe, Aneta Buchert from the organisation Polish City Club. She's been working in London for the last 7 years, and Sunda Katwala from British Future, which is an independent immigration think tank. Welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for coming in. Before we get some viewers' thoughts, let me get some initial reactions from you as to what you heard this morning. Stephen Booth first, what did you think of what you heard from the Prime Minister?
Well, I think he struck a careful and the correct balance between trying to retain the benefits of free movement to the UK economy, the benefits that immigration brings to the UK, and trying to square that with concerns that people have about is the system fair, and also trying to address some of the incentives that might encourage people to come to the UK to work in very low-paid work. So these access to in-work benefits, which can, in some cases, substantially increase the take-home pay of a migrant working on low incomes.
So broadly positive?
Yes, I think so. I think he was right to avoid going down the road of an emergency brake or a cap on numbers, which would have struck right at the heart of the principle of free movement of labour, and also become very difficult to negotiate at the EU level.
Aneta Buchert, what did you think?
Well, I've obviously watched this speech with great interest, as I may call myself an immigrant here to the UK. What has struck me is that we focus very much on the benefits, basically, and it's much broader than that. People don't come here for benefits. People come here for many different reasons. People come here to teach at universities. People come here to build their careers. People come here to start their own companies. So the subject is much broader, and I think bringing it down only to the benefit question may not express the full extent of why people are coming to the UK.
OK. And Sunda Katwala, an initial thought from you?
Well, I think he was told he had an impossible political conundrum, because apart from striking all of these balances about the pressures and benefits of immigration, he's got the political challenge as well of, got to get the other European governments on side and the British people and his own backbenchers. And that's rather difficult. This is, I think, the best shot at, a possible politics of how to stay in Europe and keep people with you. You are never going to keep everybody happy on the subject of Europe. But I think people who didn't like what the Prime Minister said today have to, I think, be quite honest and say we're in the out camp, because the reforms you can have in the club aren't for us. And there's a vote on that, and they'll have to exit and make the case for out and tell us what out will look like. I think today was about what in might look like if we stay. OK, well, those are some initial thoughts. I'm going to put to you now some of the comments that we've had from viewers, some very much in the out camp, others basically saying, what's all the fuss about? Let me read this from Elizabeth in Cheltenham, who sent this email, and then I'll come to you at various points as I do these to get some reactions. The Prime Minister's immigration speech today is simply too little too late. She says the speed at which our British culture and identity is disappearing is frightening. She says this country is literally swamped with immigrants now, and I utterly resent it. She says how ludicrous that you can swan over here from, say, Poland, and meanwhile claim child benefit from the UK for any children that you left behind in Poland. And she says that UKIP is the way forward now. Aneta, just a thought on that. I mean, clearly she is not going to be satisfied by what the Prime Minister said today.
Yes. Well, indeed, obviously what I can say is if you have the situation where you have children and they get a benefit in Poland, if you bring them here, you'll actually pay for their school and pay for their healthcare as well. So that's one way of looking at it. But in this situation, it's almost, if a person has an attitude like this, you can never make them happy.
Stephen Booth, presumably you would say that clearly nothing that the Prime Minister said today would change Elizabeth in Cheltenham's mind because of the wider view that she takes of this issue.
Possibly not, but I do think there is concern, as I said, about the degree of low-skilled migration and the potential for the welfare system not to be abused, because I do think that the idea that welfare abuse or benefit tourism, I think that is a red herring, and most people do come here to seek work. The fact is the UK system has quite a generous in-work benefit system, particularly at the low end of the wage scale, and I think most people would think that there has to be a system whereby people come here and don't have immediate access to that, but they've contributed to the UK economy for a period of years before they have access to those generous in-work benefits. So I think, while Elizabeth might not be persuaded, I think other people who are just have concerns about immigration and the impact it has could be persuaded.
I'll come to the next one and come to you, Sunda, with it. Andy Jones emails this. Cameron's speech doesn't go far enough. He doesn't mention access to NHS facilities or schools, all free of charge, of course. Also, he only talks of in-work benefits, as we've just discussed, not unemployment benefit. No immigrant should get any benefit until they've paid into the system. Sunda, thought on that? from Andy Jones?
Well, I think again you've got the tough end of the debate there, but I mean the Prime Minister would say there are limits, and he's extending those limits on out of work benefit as well, and the in work benefit is the harder thing. But while you will never go far enough for some people, you've got to say, look, if people have got a concern about fairness, let's debate what fairness is, and I think that's what the 4-year proposal, it might end up at 2 or 3 years, is about. There's the fairness concern, and then, you know, from the first email we had the culture concern. He said a very interesting thing today, which was we're Great Britain because of immigration, not despite it. And, you know, you go back 40, 50 years ago and people said the children of immigrants will never feel British. My parents came from India and Ireland. No one doubts that I'm British. So that the children of East European immigrants will feel British too. But we've got to make people who feel fearful about say, well, what will keep us British? Does, you know, marking the centenary of the First World War and the Second World War, which turns out to have Polish RAF pilots and Indian soldiers in it, does that make people feel we can stay British and have immigration as well? Because that's what we're going to have to do in the next 20 years. We're not going to lose all of the immigrants.
Interesting as well, Aneta, that he contacted the Polish Prime Minister prior to the speech. So he wanted to make sure that you know, the Poles knew what he was going to say. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, I think this is an important sign, and what you want a dialogue. And if you have issues that are so sensitive, you want people to talk and come with solutions together. Because in the end, you want the European countries to support each other and to find a common way. Because if the countries work together, they are all stronger.
Let me read this one. Ragbir Dillon. What was disappointing, writes Ragbir, was that there were not enough on the control of non-EU immigration. The Europeans will integrate, says Ragbir. I was disappointed no action has been taken to lessen our dependence on foreign professionals. Why not train our own people? Stephen Booth, thoughts on that one?
Well, I think what has come out of the recent data and what's been happening over recent years is the fact that, I mean, the government has done a lot to try and control non-EU migration. The fact is that the UK remains a big draw for non-EU migrants and also EU migrants because it's performing well, we're creating jobs, and that's something that we should be celebrating, if anything.
I mean, those specific figures came down, didn't they, until the most recent ones, and then they showed signs of going back up again.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think the aspect about training our own people, I think that has to be part of it. I think David Cameron was quite clear today that immigration control is only one part of the discussion. We have to talk about are we investing enough in our infrastructure, in housing? Are we investing enough in our own schooling and making sure that the people in the UK are equipped to fill the new jobs of the future? So I think that is, immigration control is only one part of that discussion.
Yeah. Mark in Edinburgh sent this text. Sandra, I'll put this to you. Why is no one mentioning the net benefit of EU migration to this country? In brackets, both fiscal and otherwise. Mark says Tory Euroscepticism is little more than thinly veiled xenophobia.
I think that's a bit unfair on the tone that the Prime Minister struck today, because it's unusual actually in terms of recent speeches that he actually spent the whole first section of it talking about the benefits of immigration. I'm not sure the net benefits of immigration, which is often considered to be a sort of fiscal question. They pay more into the pot than they pay out. I don't think that's enough. It's true. But actually, if you're in a local area that's got high population pressure, you need to know that the resources have come to the area you're in, not just that the Treasury has stacked them up and put them in the budget. So
which
the
is the point you made last evening, of course, the idea that you aim the money towards the areas where it's needed most.
Yeah, but I think the Conservative Party today was trying to strike the balance between, you know, what Theresa May, for example, the Home Secretary, talks about control, getting a grip, and the Prime Minister saying that, but actually what George Osborne, the Chancellor, keeps very quiet is he thinks it's rather good for the economy. So I think if we heard from George Osborne as well, and the Prime Minister did a bit of that today, and I think he attacked the xenophobia in the debate. He's talked about the recent comments that have been on repatriation, so they were appalling. So I think people should give him some credit for making both sides of the argument.
Okay, I sense agreement to my left. I want to squeeze one more in, if I may. Kay Cooper in Durham says, it isn't the skilled but the semi and unskilled jobs going to immigrants from the EU. What can be done to get UK people to take these jobs rather than imported people? Aneta, pick up on that one if you would.
Well, what I would say is it's not only the unskilled jobs, it's also the skilled jobs. And there are a lot of people coming from the Central and Eastern Europe who have studied there, who have studied in many other countries, and they are coming here with the education, with the languages, with experience. And what you can do and what you should do is you should educate people locally, and you should make sure that the skills of people here in the UK are preparing them for the future, and not only for competing with other people from the EU, but also with people globally, because we are not only limited to Europe, we are competing in a global environment.
Stephen Booth, final word. How do you see this debate playing out from here?
Well, the next question will be how is this negotiated in Europe? I think that's the key thing. And I think that because this proposal doesn't strike at that right to seek work around the EU and take up work across the EU, I think it's something that other EU leaders should support. It's about making working across the EU self-sufficient. We're basically saying that you can come to the UK or other European countries if your work is self-sufficient, but not if it means using state welfare to top up your incomes.
Okay. Time has beaten us. Thank you all very much indeed for coming in. Thanks to Stephen Booth, to Aneta Buchert and to Sunder Katwal.